Hi, I'm Joe Mahler here at Mustad tying a few flies today. Today I'm going to show you how to tie the straw boss. The straw boss is a pattern I use for nearly everything I fish for, anything from smallmouth bass, northern pike, even bonefish. I tie in a few varieties, but we're going to tie the standard one today. The thing about the straw boss is that it has some wings on it, and it's actually, when people look at it, they think it's a floating fly. It looks like a surface fly. It's actually a heavily weighted fly. And it has a couple of wings on it, and as it sinks, the fly tilts back and forth. That's usually when I get my strike, or I'll strip it and let it fall. So this fly really focuses on the fall. Okay, there's a kind of a peculiar list of materials here. These are scud weights, and you can see them. A lot of trout fishermen will be familiar with them for tying freshwater shrimp patterns. Another thing is this Next Care finger tape, and we'll have a pretty important use for that. I use some super glue, but probably the most important thing is this tool right here. This is a hollowed out pen casing from a Bic pen, and we'll use that to push the hair back. Okay, the last thing is my grandpa glasses, and we'll get started. I'm going to start with my thread and the 34007 number 4. I tie it anywhere from a size 1 to down to size 10. Actually, we'll do it the other way today. There we go. Okay, we'll start the thread as any other fly. And I'll put a half hitch in. Clip that off. Now I'm going to build a really thin base of thread, but I'm going to start by putting just a little bit of super glue. I like the gel for some things, and I just kind of wrap into that just so that fly doesn't spin. That weight sometimes has a tendency to spin if it's not locked down. Now I'm going to turn this upside down, take the scud weight, place it about 1/8 of an inch back behind the eye, and lock that in. Now I'm going to take the thinner super glue, and I'm going to put a coat of it over the weight itself. Now and the reason I'm doing this is so as I wrap the thread, it's going to have a tendency to slide down off of the weight. So I'm going to put a few loose wraps, and those are going to glue nicely into place, and they're not going to go anywhere. We'll cover that up. We're going to have plenty of time tying the rest of the fly to cover that weight. And there we go. Good enough. Okay, we're going to move this on back here and tie in the tail. Now you can use anything for the tail you want. You could use Finnish raccoon. I've got craft fur here today. On the two-tone flies like this one, I'm going to match the tail, the bottom layer of the tail, with the thread color. So next I'm going to put the tail on. I've got some craft fur here. You could use Finnish raccoon. You could use any tail material you want. I'm going to get that, just kind of brush out that fuzz a little bit. And we're going to wrap it in on top of the hook. Make a few wraps. And you don't have to worry about that craft fur going anyplace because the super glue actually has a chemical reaction and melts the craft fur. So it becomes very hard. Okay, so I'm going to match the thread color with the bottom layer of tail. Next I'm going to take the other color, which I'm going to make this a chartreuse and orange one. So I'm going to take a little bit of chartreuse craft fur, make a couple of wraps around that. We don't need to go crazy with the thread. Lift up and trim. Now at this point I'm going to take that super glue again and just put a little bit of, just a dab there to fuse that in place. We'll cover that up a little bit, wrap into the glue. I think a vise that you can rotate is absolutely essential for this because I'm always turning it over, inspecting the other side, moving it back around. All right. Okay, we'll give that just a second to dry. Now, I've got a couple different bucktails here, And I'm really fussy when it comes to bucktail. You know, a lot of the ones I like are the ones that seem to be left on the shelf and nobody wants. But I like the ones with the longest, straightest, and the fibers that seem hollow. They're actually not hollow, but they have the appearance of being hollow. And when you tighten them, they'll flare out, as you'll see. Now we're going to get fancy on this one. I'm going to put some stripes on it. So I'm going to take about 5 of the hairs. Put these in here. I'm going to tie this right down on top. Right down on top. I'm going to check this and make sure that I don't wrap over the fibers and cover the eye of the hook. And that looks pretty good to me. Lift this up. And we'll just cover that up. Okay. Now, as you go along, if you see any kind of little funky hairs sticking up, it's best to get them early than to try and do it after the fly is finished. So you can see we've got a few fibers there. Next, I'm going to take the main color of the fly, this chartreuse, and I'm going to grab a little bit bigger bunch. Once again, I kind of get all that fuzz out. My wife loves that part. Okay, and then so I'm going to hold it here, and see those ones I'm going to bend. I'm going to just pluck those out. I don't stack the hair. You certainly can if you want to, but I just grab the ends and even them up. And I really like it so a few of them stick out a little bit longer. Just do that a few times, and you'll get to the point where they're pretty even. Let me do this over here. So I've just cut the butts off, so now they're all even. We'll probably end up doing that again here in a second. Get those fuzzies out. I'm going to take this and I'm going to make one wrap around the bunch, pull it down, and pop it out. Now that's where that hollow appearing bucktail is important. You see how it flares. If it's the really dense stuff, it just tends to lay there. You can still tie the fly with it, but it won't have the same effect. And I'm going to make about 12 wraps. I want about a 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch away from the hook. Now I'm going to grab all these butts, and if you see this point, we're going to call it the tie-off point, right where those things end. It's really important not to have anything beyond that. So I'm going to grab these and chop them off. Now you can see how they end right before the tie-off point. The more you fuss with the fly, the better they turn out. So now you can see what I've got here. Now I'm going to take my bodkin. I'm going to divide the wings here and kind of bend them back. And I'm going to figure 8 around them. Okay, once you get those locked down, you might want to go back and trim a couple of these crazy hairs that maybe get pop up. All right, so now the most unusual part of this fly is that I'm going to take this finger tape, and I've gone ahead and I've taken a piece and I've taken an X-Acto and cut 1/8-inch strips. And so it's about 2 inches long. I'm going to trim this up just a little. All right, so now I'm gonna put the pointed end right up there at the top. Lock that down, and we'll figure eight it this way, and this way, and now we're locked in. So we've got this adhesive tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the fibers up with my fingers so it doesn't stick, and I'm going to wrap this down, and maybe take 5 or 6 wraps to get back to the tie-off point. Then I'm going to advance the thread back up to the wings, fold this over, the finger tape does a couple of different things. For one thing, it builds bulk, which I want. I want sort of a hump back on this fly. The other thing is that it makes the fly buoyant on the top and dense on the bottom. So it ensures that it will always ride the way you want it to. We'll fold it back. Now I'm going to probably do that 6 or 8 times, and you can see the bulk building. When I first started tying this fly, I would just build it up with thread, but it would get big in all directions. Hold this down. You notice I've got some tension on that each time. Fold those up. And on the last one, I'm going to pull all the way to the back and cinch it down. Wrap over that. Now I'm going to wrap over and cover that up. At this point, I'm going to turn it upside down. Just make sure that the belly looks nice and smooth, and fill in any places that aren't. And wind it on back here. Now I'm going to put a half hitch in here just in case I break my thread, which I sometimes do. Okay, now for the secret tool, this pen cap. I'm going to take all these and fold them back. Now I have quite a collection of tubes of all different descriptions. I love the clear ones because now when I put it on, I can see what the fibers are doing through the tube. So I'm going to grab all that, maybe wet your fingers a bit, and pull that back. I'm going to take the pen tube and I'm going to push it on. You see how snugly that fits. And now I can look at this and I can see that those stripes, that all the fibers are going back the way I want them to. Wrap up here at the tie-off point, and I'm going to put some significant pressure on that. Maybe 4 or 5 wraps. Now I'm going to hang on to this and pull the tube off. Now you can see what I've got here. They're a little crooked, but that's okay. And we'll wind this up. I'm going to put it. There we go. Now that's the tying portion. So I'm gonna turn it upside down here and just inspect it. Yeah, sometimes you may find that a couple of the wing fibers get trapped under the body, and you just pluck them out or cut them off. And we'll go in here and trim off. There we go. Now I'm going to kind of grab those wings and tug them up. Okay, now I'm going to take the fly off the vise and look it over. Now I'm going to use some Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails. Hard as nails to open. There we go. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some glue under what I call the armpits, where those wings come out. I'm just going to put a dab in there and a dab in this one. There's a little bit of a void, and we want to fill that up. I always paint the belly first. The belly's going to get 1 or 2 coats. The rest of the fly is going to get about 4. You can do less, but I like to have a candy apple finish on my straw boss. So, and then I put a little bit up here at the top. And you'll be amazed at how much of that Hard as Nails that bucktail will drink in. It looks pretty glossy right now, but in a few minutes it'll suck in there and be time to put another one on. So that's the finished straw boss right there. Tie some up and go catch them.